I'm Sarah Wilson, and you're listening to the Roots and All Budcast. Hello, and welcome to this Christmas episode of the Roots and All Budcast. Firstly, I'd like to wish you a very happy Christmas, and I hope you're enjoying your day wherever you are and however you're spending it. If you're listening to this episode as soon as it's released, I'll no doubt be 2 bucks fizzes to the good, already bored of being indoors with nothing to do, and wistfully remembering that year I was sensible enough to spend Christmas in the Caribbean. So for this podcast, I thought I'd make a bit of an effort as the release date does coincide with this very special day. First up, you can take part in my fiendishly difficult Christmas quiz. Then we'll hear from a couple of special guests who share their best and worst gardening gifts with us. And finally, I'll let you know how you can take part in my festive treasure hunt. Now on to the quiz. As I said, it's difficult, but not too long. You will need to write down or somehow record your answers as you go, because you'll need to email them to me in a numbered list to podcast@rootsandall.co.uk. The closing date for entries is the 31st of December. The winner or winners will be announced on the website and on social media on the 1st of January, and a roll of honour will be published on the website too, so don't forget to include your name or your preferred pseudonym. Answers will be published on the website on the 1st of January along with the results. Oh, and as anyone who knows me will attest, my decision is final. Just a word regarding answers that are numerical values. You will get a point awarded if you get the answer that's rounded up to the unit specified in the question. So if, for example, the answer is 56% and you round it up to 60, then you will get a point. If you get the answer spot on, you will get a bonus point. And in fact, I'll be so flabbergasted, I might even give you 5 bonus points. And what do we win, I hear you cry? Well, the answer is you'll win a prize that money can't buy, which is bragging rights over the rest of the Roots and All listeners. Top scorers will be published on the Roots and All website and will have their names read out in the very first podcast of 2019. But if glory and fame aren't enough of a reward for you, stay tuned, because the treasure hunt does have an actual, lovely, tangible prize for you to get your materialistic mitts on. And now it's time for the questions. Question 1. To the nearest 1,000, how many species are there in the Asteraceae family? Question 2. Madagascar has 11,138 native vascular plant species. To the nearest 10, what percentage of those plants occur only in Madagascar and nowhere else on Earth? Question 3. In what can only be described as a curious attempt to present a friendly visage to the public, which internationally recognised brand is coming out of left field to sponsor a garden at next year's Chelsea Flower Show? Question 4. In episode 13 of the podcast, Angela Tandy of Fibrex Nurseries reveals her 2 favourite ivies. What are they? You get a point for each. Question 5. The Latin name of the traditional Christmas plant, the poinsettia, is Euphorbia pulcherrima. But what does pulcherrima mean when translated into English? Question 6. In 2016, 220 plant or plant-derived items were seized at Heathrow Airport. One group of plants made up 29% of all those seized. Which group of plants was it? In episode 7 of the podcast on trees, which tree did I say I would plant on the front lawn of my French chateau when I get it? Question 8. Which rose shares its name with a UK women's clothing retailer? Question 9. To the nearest 1,000, how many plant species worldwide are classified as invasive? Question 10. This is a question inspired by episode 12 of the podcast, where I interviewed Isaiah Levy about his seed share project. There's a bean which, if left to mature, its markings resemble a symbol associated with Chinese philosophy. Can you give me the name of this bean, and I'll accept either its binomial name or one of the 3 common names it goes by. Question 11. Which out-of-this-world UK garden is only open for the public to visit one day each year? Question 12. In which podcast might you hear the claim that houseplants need hot loving too? Question 13. In the Budcast episode released on the 11th of December, I mentioned Australia's largest tree that was destroyed in 2003 by careless forestry work. The tree was a Eucalyptus regnans, but what was it affectionately nicknamed? Question 14. This genus is a Christmas favourite that could also be how Superman's nemesis refers to himself. Question 15 is another podcast-related question. Which gardening presenter promises you'll be back to the weeding in 45 minutes at the beginning of each show? So that's it. Good luck, and don't forget to email me your answers to podcast@rootsandall.co.uk. Next up, I thought it'd be good to hear from a couple of leading lights in the world of horticulture to find out their best and worst gardening Christmas gifts. First, let's hear from the renowned award-winning garden designer, Butter Wakefield.
One of the best Christmas presents, and I'm hoping I'm going to get it again from dear Gareth Kinsella, is the Almanac, a seasonal guide to 2018. So I'm hoping for the 2019. Have you seen this?
Is that the Leah? Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to make a mess of her surname. Leendutz?
Yeah, I'll spell it for you. So it's Lia, and then it's Leendurtz. It's LEENDERTZ, and it was just so lovely. So it's done by the month, mm-hmm. and tells you about everything that you kind of need to know. So if you want to know the average temperatures in Orkney, for instance,
and
in February.
Wouldn't?
And who wouldn't? I mean, we all need to know that. It's 7 to 3 degrees Celsius in the month of February. And in the garden, it tells you what to do every month. And it tells you when the high tides are. It tells you when the full moons are. It tells you what to do, for instance, with your excess courgettes in August. You know, it's just adorable. I mean, I love it so much. It's full of sweet recipes, interesting folklore, why this is that, what happens then, what the constellations are doing. You know, it's just, I love it. It's kind of what I turn to when I need a short little fix of something, but don't want to get, you know, embroiled in lengthily, what have you. So that's best Prezi. Mm-hmm. Love that. And then worst, well, the trouble is with worst, when you're dealing with anything garden related, it's all good, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. I do have to say, probably, however, I was really being mean. I got a sort of flower print pair of cicadas once. Yep. And I thought, no, you know what? It would be embarrassing to whip them out anywhere but in my own back garden. So I have to say that's probably my worst. And flowery gardening gloves.
Yes, not only embarrassing because you know, you may or may not like the print. Some of them are quite jolly, but chances are they're probably going to break within about 2 days, and that's what I find with the novelty secateurs, etc.
Exactly. Yes. Your street cred kind of goes out the window, really, doesn't it? And not that we have that much to start with, but you know, so I would say that my worst. That was the worst.
So if you're listening, Butter, I hope Mr. Kinsella came through on the almanac front. Butter does Christmas in the most stylish of fashions, and if you'd like to check out what she's up to this festive period, you should follow her Instagram account, which is Butter Wakefield. She's got really lovely photos on there. And my second special guest is garden designer extraordinaire and host of the famous Sod Show podcast, Peter Donegan. I asked Peter to spill the beans on his horticultural presents, good and bad, and I knew I'd be in for a giggle.
Somebody gave me 3 bags of compost once.
Nice.
And somebody else bought me a how to design a garden for beginners book, which I found humorous, but they didn't.
Or slightly insulting, maybe.
Well, you can take it on every level that you want, but that's and I think after that I'm trying to think. Oh, I got one of those flowers that you connect to the bottom of your hose and stick in the middle of your garden as a Christmas present, which was another shite one. Really, really, I don't know why I would ever want something like that. And no, but I think the funny thing about all of them is people actually meant terribly well.
Yes.
And they were genuinely serious about saying, I think you'd like this.
Oh.
But they were shite presents to be very fair about it, and I don't know why. I mean, if you gave them to my dad, they'd probably make sense, but not to me.
Yes, I know what you mean. My one of my kind of ex-relatives-in-law bought me a gardening apron once, which I would never have worn in a million years, but it was a kind thought. So I guess I have to approach it that way.
Yeah. My grandmother, when I was 6, bought me a World's Best Gardener keyring, which I still have to this day.
Oh.
And but people tend to give me presents that are garden related, unless it's a good bottle of whiskey, and that's really about the height of it. But as Christmas presents, I don't know, Sarah. I think when grown men hit a certain age, or I don't know how you explain it, but it just seems to be he'd love more socks, and he'd love more aftershave, and he'd love a shirt. And I've got 4 sisters, and I haven't bought a shirt or clothes for myself since I was about 17. So
have they got good taste, if that's the question?
Well, I wouldn't admit to that publicly, no, but whether they do or they don't, but I'm just happy I've got long gangly arms, and I tend not to fit into I don't think I'm normal in body shape or size, to be quite fair about it. I take a size 13 shoe, one tall. Yeah, I know, and so finding shoes are really odd. They tried to buy me a pair of shoes for my birthday when I was 21, and they said we had 2 choices: this pair of shoes that you have in front of you, or a pair of snakeskin cowboy boots. And that was all they could find in Dublin that would fit me. So I know. It's terrible, isn't it?
So I hope you've received more presents of the almanac and keyring variety and less of the other sort. If you have received a spectacularly awesome or indeed terrible gardening themed Prezi today, I would love it if you shared a picture of your present with me on social media, and I will share it too, so we can all be suitably envious or offer commiserations as appropriate. And finally, in this episode, I would like to propose a Christmas treasure hunt. If you're looking for an excuse to go for a walk over the holiday, this could be it. And if you'd like to enter, all you need to do is collect the designated items, arrange them in a suitably artistic fashion, and post a picture of your handiwork to my Twitter or Instagram accounts. And links to those can be found in the show notes. I will pick 4 of the best entries and open them up to the public vote so listeners can choose their favourite. The specific items you need to find and photograph are 1 fallen leaf, 2 flowers from a flowering shrub. You can choose 2 flowers from 1 shrub, or use 1 flower each from 2 different shrubs. You need something from an evergreen plant, and then you can have 3 additional seasonal items found in nature. They can be all the same or different, but there must be 3 in total. So if you chose acorns, for example, you can only use 3 acorns. I will accept alternatives if you live somewhere that it might be difficult for you to find these items, but if you live in Bedfordshire and tell me you can't find a fallen leaf, I probably won't buy it. Entries will be judged on your haul of treasure, but also on the artistic merits of your arrangement. And I'm not exempting myself from this labour of love. If you go to my social media accounts, I've posted a photo of my own efforts, and I look forward to you pouring scorn on my attempts with your own wonderful creations. And now on to the prizes. The winner of the public vote will receive a prize that I'll have to force myself to send out to you because I love it and I want one. The winner will receive